So I was working with a guy named Billy. Billy is a veteran. He had served 7 deployments over in Iraq and Afghanistan. Each deployment was about 14 months long. So he comes back to the United States, and he goes to a concert one night, and he's enjoying himself and having a good time at the concert, and all of a sudden, boom, and he hits the floor. But it was just fireworks that were on stage. So, can anybody tell me, why would Billy hit the floor like that? Yes?
It was a conditioned response.
And what does that mean?
He'd been deployed in a war zone for 7 times,
Yeah.
for 14 months each time. So that means he was under fire anytime he went around. His conditioned response would be to take cover.
Right.
Hit the deck, take cover.
So this guy was over there, and 24/7 he was constantly in a hyper-arousal stage where he could be killed at any moment, right? Okay, so we are going to talk about how trauma affects the brain today. So, learning outcomes, describe the regions of the brain that control human responses, generalize how chronic trauma affects the brain, and analyze how complex trauma scenarios can affect behavior. All right. So we are going to take a look at the brain. All right. So there are 3 main parts to the brain that control like our functions, our behaviors, our actions, our reactions. Okay. But only one of those 3 deals specifically with stress and survival alone, okay? So I'm going to show you the 3 parts to the brain. So this is the first part. This is called the neocortex. Does anybody want to take a guess as to what the neocortex does? What's its responsibility? Anyone guess? It's the largest part of the brain.
It thinks.
It thinks. Good. Okay? Yeah, so this part of the brain is our critical thinking part. All right, so this is where we get our language, where we get our personality, our uniqueness. Okay, so this is the neocortex. All right, the next part of the brain is the brainstem. All right, does anybody want to take a guess as to what the brainstem does? What is its job?
Nervous system.
Good. Anybody else?
Heartbeat.
Yeah, heartbeat. Okay, anything else? Breath. Okay, so what do all those things have in common? Your heartbeat, your breath, your blood pressure.
Involuntary.
Yes. Right, they're automatic things, right? So we can't just like think, oh, I want to slow my blood pressure or whatever. Like it doesn't happen like that. Right, so the brainstem controls those automatic things like breathing, heart rate, stuff like that, okay? All right, so the next part is the limbic system. All right, so this is the limbic system. You want to take a guess on what it controls?
Motivation, emotion, and memory.
Right, okay. All right, so the limbic system is actually what's known as the survival brain, okay? Within the limbic system, we have something called the amygdala, and that is actually our alarm system. It is what protects us, right? So I will tell you that the limbic system reacts way faster than the neocortex, way faster. Okay, the limbic system isn't smart. What it does is it just reacts to external stimuli. Okay, and its job is to what? What is its job?
Yeah.
Right, to do what?
Protect.
To protect us from dying. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So this is where we get that flight, fight, or freeze instinct. All right. Okay. So I am going to ask you guys to label the brain. All right. It's right up there, NEOCORTEX. Okay, so underneath it, I just want you to briefly summarize what the neocortex does.
That's the thinking part.
It's the thinking part, yeah. It controls our critical thinking, and y'all do not have to write what I put. I just put that up there in case you need some help, okay? So it's the center for higher brain functions such as perception, decision-making, and language. And like I said earlier, this part of the brain is slower to react than the other parts. Okay.
That's the gray matter.
So, yes. So we're going to go over here. This is, anybody know what that part's called?
That's
Doesn't
the
know what?
limbic, or the
The
limbic.
limbic system, yes. Okay, so what is the job of the limbic system? Survival, right? Yes.
Fight, flight.
Emotion, survival, yeah. This is our alarm system. This is what protects us. I mean, have you ever had, like, been playing ball and, like, it fly at your head and you just have this automatic instinct where you duck? That's the limbic system taking control and protecting you. And again, this is going to respond faster than the neocortex. Okay, so we'll go to the last one. What was the last one called? Do you remember?
Brainstem.
Brainstem. And what is the job of the brainstem?
Automatic function.
Yeah, breathing, automatic functions, breathing, heart rate. And this is also known as the reptilian brain. Yes, the brainstem is, yes. By the way, do you guys know which part of the brain that we have that other animals don't that sets us apart? Why we have dominion over the earth? The neocortex. That's right. The neocortex. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys a little video.
Today's session is about trauma. The latest in brain science will help you in your work. I'll start with a tour of the parts of the human brain. The reptilian brain maintains basic bodily functions. The limbic system is also instinctive. It deals with fear and pleasure. For example, you pat a dog, it senses pleasure, and without thinking, wags its tail. The neocortex is the site of logic, imagination, planning, and control. It's more sophisticated, but because it's conscious, it's slower than the older parts of the brain. The amygdala is a key part of the limbic system. It has one job, to sense danger and set off the alarm. When it's a matter of survival, the primitive parts of the brain override the conscious part. There are three possible survival responses: fight, flight, or the one that people don't think of, freeze. When the alarm goes off, blood and oxygen are diverted to muscles, adrenaline floods the body, and all systems that are not crucial to survival are switched off. Normally, the job of the hippocampus is to file memories so you can retrieve them later. But in times of danger, it stops filing memories, which makes it harder to gather evidence later on. Instead, the hippocampus switches to pumping cortisol. What's useful about cortisol is it stops us feeling pain, so we can focus on survival. Can anyone give me an example?
farming accident where a man carried his own arm for a mile without feeling any pain?
Yes, excellent example. It is an evolutionary safety mechanism which is fast and instinctive. In essence, it's our body's very clever way of protecting us. To recap, an example of the three parts of the brain working together. You're standing at a bar. Your reptilian brain is keeping your heart beating. You're enjoying the pleasure of a nice pint with your limbic system. You're using your neocortex to work out if there's time for another before the last train. What could happen to make the amygdala kick in?
All right, so what could happen to make the amygdala kick in? That survival part of the brain.
Shots ring out.
Shots ring out. What else?
Somebody throws a punch at you.
Somebody throws a punch at you, right? What else?
Bomb goes
A
off.
bomb goes off. Good. You know what else? What can happen?
You fall over.
You fall, someone pushes you, right? What do you think?
All of the above?
Okay, good. All right.
What if this happened? The way you'd respond would depend not on your logical brain, but on your instinctive brain. Being glassed in a bar would be a traumatic experience. Who can give me another example of an event that can cause trauma? War?
Rape?
A car crash? Good, yes. Trauma occurs when a person is overwhelmed by something beyond their control. The survival brain takes over the rational brain. It can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, with symptoms that last at least a month. Vicarious or secondary trauma is something you may experience if you deal with incidents such as rape or sudden death, or think of Lockerbie, Dunblane. You're not superheroes. Having a brain makes you all vulnerable to secondary trauma. It's important to understand that when trauma occurs again and again, it can become complex PTSD, such as in domestic abuse or child sexual abuse. The alarm system in the brain becomes jammed. Memories are stuck in the limbic system, so a trigger can set off the alarm.
So, okay, so you saw just a minute ago that the guy walked into the room with the kid and the bell started going off, right? What was standing out to you in that picture? What was the guy wearing?
A tie.
A tie. What color was it?
Red,
Close.
yellow,
Close.
Was it green?
It was green.
oh,
Okay. So now this child that was abused, he's now an adult, and what happens is every time he sees the color green, he has that automatic stress response. Okay. So and that can happen with smells. It can happen again with colors. It can happen. I mean, with songs, with movies, with events, places you go, and it's just an automatic response. It's nothing that they can control. Okay.
The trigger could be anything: a colour, a smell, a sound, a sensation. Now, the indicators of trauma.
Okay, we're going to stop the video there. All right. Okay, so we are going to do a think, pair, share now. Okay. We're going to read this case study, and then I want you to try to answer the question using the think, pair, share activity. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a minute after we read the questions. I don't have a volunteer to read the question, please. The case study out loud. Volunteer.
sure. Julie's car broke down in a blizzard 3 years ago. She almost died because her phone was dead and she could not contact anyone. Finally, she was found and she is alive today. However, she suffers from PTSD. What triggers could spark her survival brain?
So on the back of the brain diagram that I gave you, write down some ideas that you might have. What triggers will spark her?
You want to talk about this together? or-
No, not the first minute. Write down what you
Can
think.
you go back to the question?
Yeah. Okay, you guys can pair up and share your answers. Y'all can talk.
I have snow, thumbnail, being alone. So that's one form that they all put on. Walk down the clock. And color could be a trigger. White out.
Okay, so let's talk about what you guys put. Who wants to volunteer? Avery.
I put on the road and phone taps.
Very good. Yes. And by the way, this is a true case. This really happened. So after you guys share your answers, I'm going to tell you what her biggest trigger was. Okay. Good. Somebody else. What else could be a trigger for her?
The color white.
The color white. That's right. Good. What about y'all? Yep.
Clock breaking down, isolation.
Car breaking down. Isolation. That's right.
Cold.
Cold. Yes.
Blizzard.
Being in a blizzard. Yes.
Lack of control.
Good. Lack of control. So all of those were right. They were all perfect responses. Julie's biggest trigger is not having her phone charged.
Low battery.
She has to have a charger with her all times. Like she completely flips out if she doesn't have her phone fully charged. She can't leave the house without having multiple chargers, okay, with her. And you know the kind of chargers that you carry with you as well. So that was hers. All right, so we're gonna go to another one. All right, I need a volunteer to read this, please.
They all went.
Oh, okay.
A husband and wife are watching after a long day. The wife asks the husband to take out the trash. The husband says he would do so, and the wife walks out of the room to check on their two kids. When she checks on the kids, she finds out chocolate milk is spilled all over their beautiful white couch. Meanwhile, the husband takes the trash out and cleans up the kitchen. The wife walks back to where the husband was while being mad, angry, and upset that the couch was ruined. She screams at the husband, "Did you take out the trash as I asked you?" The husband starts cursing at his wife, yelling at her. What happened? Why didn't you respond?
So this one's kind of a harder question. All right, so we're going to do think, pair, share again. So I want you to, any ideas that you might have, write on your paper. And then I'm going to let you pair up and then we'll share it. So why would he respond in that way? That's the question.
He was unaware.
Get this one down on your own. Why did he respond that way? Now remember, we're talking about the survival part of the brain. That survival instinct. Why did he respond in that way? Yes,
Where's the couch?
in the living room.
Is it near where the husband is?
No, it's in a different room. Okay, I want you guys to pair up and just kind of discuss what you think the axle could possibly be.
What I put down was
think.
He defends himself.
Who wants to volunteer? Avery.
Wait, why he got,
Why did he respond to her that way?
because he did what she said, and then she started getting mad at him, and he felt like it wasn't his fault, and
Right.
it wasn't, so he started getting mad.
Right. That's great. That's great. Good job. What'd y'all put?
Well, he returned anger for anger.
Okay.
It was just immediate,
Right.
immediate response, anger, anger.
Right. You're both right.
And then the other thing is, it's a defensive mechanism. He decided to defend his position
Right.
in the moment.
Okay, so I like this one because I think this is a scenario that we can all relate to, right? You ever gotten in an argument with someone that you love, and you fired stuff at them, you yelled stuff, you said mean things to them, and then afterwards you're like, why did I do that? Right? So this is that survival part of your brain, okay? When someone fires at you, you're gonna fire back. Okay, before your neocortex has time to really think about what happened, that limbic system is firing back. Okay, and that's why that happens, right? Okay, so we're gonna do one more case study. Yes.
That links into your language center. doesn't it?
What? Not the aggression, no. I mean, the aggression is where it all comes from, that aggressive stance. Okay, here's the third one. Last case study. Who wants to read that loud?
Stu does.
William is a Vietnam veteran. While serving in Vietnam, he experienced many traumatic events. Now William is back home, married with 2 sons. The family was going on a ski trip and had planned to leave the house at 6 a.m. William's wife is having a difficult time waking the boys up. At 1 minute after 6, William is pacing. At 2 minutes after 6 a.m., he is getting anxious. At 3 minutes after 6, now he is irritable. And at 4 minutes after 6, he begins cursing and yelling. They finally get on the road, and all of a sudden, he starts singing and is in a good mood. What happened? What could have caused him to get anxious and irritable after 6 a.m.?
And I think this one's going a little bit deeper than the last one. Okay, so you guys take a little bit, try to think about why William reacted in that way. What could have caused him to act like that? Okay, you guys discuss it. Kara.
Well, that's up to the service condition time to do. And what was, you had to.
Okay, so let's everybody kind of talk about what you guys put down. Give me a volunteer. Avery.
I said, because in the war, he had to be up at a certain time, because there are so many battle after like the enemy might attack.
That's right.
While they're still asleep, so.
Yep, that's right. Yep. What were y'all gonna say?
Well, it could be that, shift change was at 6. And so he had to make sure that he was on time to relieve the men that had stayed the course during the night.
Right.
So he was pre-programmed to make sure he relieved them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you guys are all right. This is another real case study. So William relates time and being on time to life and death, right? If you're not where you're supposed to be, then you could die, okay? So, that is, yeah, and you both were right. It all has to do with him experiencing, you know, what he experienced in Vietnam and relating to being on time to that, okay? All right, so we are going to play Kahoot now to review. All right, so I need you guys to get on your phones and go to Kahoot. Okay. Is everybody on? Should have 5 people, right? Oh, Jenny's on. So this is going to be a quick review, okay? Good job, everybody. Who's winning? I didn't see that. Oh, Fu Man Stew. Good job, everybody. Yay. Let's see who won. All right. I'm just kidding with one more. Yay! Okay, now we can see who won. Yay, Jen got third. Phoebe got second. All right, good job, Stewie. And runners up. Okay, good job, guys. Okay. Alrighty. So just to close it up, tell me one thing you guys learned today, and I want to hear from each of you, just one thing you learned, Stu.
When my wife yells at me and I yell back, it's not my fault. It's an automatic response.
That's right, good job. Avery, what'd you learn? Tell me one thing.
About a brain,
What did you learn about a brain?
they have names,
Good job. What'd you learn, Jen?
that the limbic system is our alarm system.
Very good. All right, Kathy, Kat, what'd you learn?
Brainstem
Very good. And Billy, what'd you learn?
That other freelance student,
I need a good answer. Okay, next one. All right, so everything you did today, which one worked the best for you? Which part did you like best about the lesson? The Kahoot, okay, good. What else?
The handout with writing down
The diagram, okay, good. What else?
I like the stories.
The case studies?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What about you?
it was the writing down, because that was mine.
Right, it's another learning modality, right? Yeah. What about you?
Case studies.
The case studies. Okay, cool. All right, and one more. How do you think this information can help you as a future counselor? What do you think? Why is it important to know this? Anybody?
So you could teach it,
Teach it to who?
people,
Very good. What kind of people? Clients. Good. Why would it be important to teach this to clients?
You can help them understand why they do the things they do.
Right.
Give
Remember?
some feedback.
Good. So remember Billy, the guy at the beginning, he had no idea why he's on the floor when the fireworks went off, right? So he comes to me and he's like, why did this happen to me? And so being able to explain how trauma affects the brain, why your brain reacts in those kinds of situations, the way it does, is the first step in helping people with PTSD heal, right?
To identify.
Right. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Y'all rock.